I used to believe that dog training was almost like a binary thing where once Vigo knew something, he knew it, we could tick the box and move on to the next thing. I now know that that's definitely not the case. And I look back and laugh at my naivete because I've had so many instances now where we've taught Vigo something at home and then taken him to someone else's house to kind of show off his new trick. And he has looked at us like we've never said this cue to him before, or like he's never done this before. It's so funny, but it's a great example of dogs being terrible at generalization. So I now think of dog training less like a binary yes no, does he know it thing, and more like levels within each skill for him to advance through to become better at that skill. It's never like a yes or no thing. There's almost like levels for him to pass in our training for him to be better at that skill. I hope that makes sense. So I wanted to talk through the 4 things that I think about when training Vigo to try and make sure that he's getting like a really well-rounded capability within that thing that we're asking him to do. Starting with the 3 Ds. Now this is a well-established thing in dog training, but it stands for duration, distance, and distraction. And so starting with duration, this is how long is your dog holding the cue that you've given them. So let's say that you ask them to sit. Can you go from having your dog sit for 2 seconds to having them sit for 6 seconds to 20 seconds? Like, how can you increase that duration? Which again is their way of becoming more advanced in that sit skill, using sit for an example. The next thing is distance. So how far away can you get from your dog for them to maintain the cue that you've given them, for them to listen to you? I think there's kind of different ways that you can look at distance. I look at it as those 2 things, like how far away can I get from Vigo with him continuing to listen to me, and how far can I be from him when I give him a cue and have him know what I expect of him. The last D is distraction. So you'll see a video that I made a little while ago. It's hilarious. It's one of my favorite videos where my sister was helping me practice Vigo staying in place while we have guests at the door, and she's banging on the door and she walks in and she goes, "Oh my God, hi." That was us trying to practice the distraction piece. So how distracting can we be for Vigo and have him continue to choose to listen to me versus give into the distraction? And even within each of those 3 Ds, there's almost like levels within levels. So you could have a small distraction of my sister walking in. You could have a much bigger distraction, which is Vigo's cousin walking in. He hasn't mastered that quite yet, where he keeps his cool when his cousin enters the room, because that in terms of distraction is just like way too exciting for him to continue to listen to me. So far, we're working on it. But then there's a 4th thing that I've been trying to work on with Vigo, which is location. I think typically people think about the 3 Ds. I think it's also worth thinking about location, and maybe location falls under distraction potentially. I see it as, how can I take the training that we're doing at home and do it in the park and do it in different locations, so he realizes, okay, I don't just have to listen to my mom when I'm in the house, I also listen to her, and we do the same kind of routines that we do in the house when we are out and about. I'm hoping that these 4 kind of subcategories of thinking about training him will help us to help him grow up and be a really well-rounded dog that makes good decisions. Really thinking about how do we make sure that everything we're learning in the house is solid, no matter where we are, no matter where the situation. And it doesn't happen overnight, right? Like it definitely takes time. It's going to take years probably for us to get Vigo to a point where he's like 100% stable in terms of being the family dog that we want him to be. But I hope that helps. That's just how I'm doing it, and I'd love to hear how you do it.